Episode 59. I said that with a question because I wasn't sure.
58.
No, it's 59.
What's 58? Last week?
Oh, I don't know. Am I wrong?
Let me check I gotta look at the playlist. That's how I keep track.
Episode 58.
Yeah, 58.
Okay. So anyways, I don't really have any news or anything at the moment. Like, this is a Wednesday and not really much has gone on. Oh, Bob Barker died. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. And to be honest, I thought he was already dead. I think weren't we talking about that like a week or two ago?
Maybe. Did
Maybe
you kill Bob Barker by talking about him?
I might have been talking about it with Buse, but...
Nah, you were talking with Buse, because I don't remember talking about Bob.
Well, anyway, now he's dead, and I apologize.
Way to go. He almost made it to 100, though,
yeah.
Man. Betty White almost made it to 100. Bob almost made it to 100. Who's, we'll give it Sylvester Stallone will make it to 100. He's got, like, close to 30 years still.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe Willie. Willie's got to be up there now.
Yeah.
Trying to think of who else would be like.
Tony Bennett's dead. I don't know. It's hard to say. Smokey Robinson's probably pretty up there. But he's only like in his 80s.
Yeah, and he's in good shape. He looks like he's 35 years old still.
It's them teeth.
Yep.
The Dying Fetus episode that said we were going to be doing, we're going to be doing it next week because I fucked up my release dates. I almost sold it too early, actually. So I was like, oh, it comes out next Friday. I was thinking of like something else that came out that week, so.
It's easy to confuse, man. You got all that stuff coming out every week. Represses of shit that keeps coming out. I noticed a lot of restock at the store for, fairly popular stuff.
Oh, I had to.
People love it.
We were like completely out of doors and just shit like that. Pantera, Slayer, all that common stuff that sells that everybody wants that we can't fucking keep in because everybody buys it. Which I'm not complaining. Like, buy it up. Come buy more. I'll keep stocking it. You keep buying it. But anyway, on the podcast today, we have a special guest with us by the name of Andrew Thorp King, who you may know from Thorp Records or Sailor's Grave Records. He's worked with tons of different bands like Blood for Blood, Madball, the Coffin Cats, Goddamn Gallows, Creep Show, Sheer Terror, etc., etc.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I think collectively between the two labels, I think he said he signed about 100 bands.
Yeah, I would say.
And then he's got his hands in multiple things from cigars to clothing lines to finance banking. And then recently wrote a book by the title of Failure Rules. The 5 steps to, is it accepting failure?
The 5 rules of failure for entrepreneurs, creatives, and authentics. I'm about halfway through it, and it's a very inspiring book. There's a lot of good quotes in there. We had a great time interviewing Mr. Thorp King. You see, I get confused because he's Andy Thorpe, or is he Andy Thorp King? I didn't ask him.
When we listened to Hoya's podcast, I think he added the King like later on or something. Because Hoya said he knew him by Andy Thorpe.
That's why I think I didn't put that together right at the beginning.
Yeah. Because when you brought it up to me, I was like,
King.
Who's that? And then I looked into it and I was like, oh shit, he's that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, it's funny. But we had a great time interviewing him, and
yeah, he was a very cool dude, and definitely if you're a reader, which if you've listened to any previous podcast episode we've done, you know that Jeremy and I both read quite a bit. We even did an episode on reading, and we strongly encourage you to read. Definitely check out his book. You can buy it anywhere books are sold, and he will tell you himself as well. And I'll have links to purchase in the episode description. His social links will be in the episode description. The playlist that goes along with the book, that was stuff that like he was kind of
listening to.
That'll be in the episode description. So definitely check that out. Go give him a follow. And if you so choose, pick up the book. You can buy it in audiobook form or physical book. But unless you have anything else, Jeremy, I'm going to jump into...
Let's get to the episode. Andrew. I'm super pumped that you wanted to do this, dude. You're kind of like, to us, man, from owning those labels, it's kind of cool, you know? To be talking to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, man.
Fucking Thorp Records 20 years ago, that was fucking tough as shit.
Yeah, it certainly had its aesthetic. I mean, there were some deviations at certain points, but mostly it kept within its lane.
Oh, sure. Yeah, dude. I just never imagined I'd be fucking talking to you about life and shit, so it's cool.
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
So just for reference, I'm Ryan, that's Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm Jeremy. We're not in Canada.
Right. I'm trying to match the voices with the icons and the names here.
Yeah.
Did you say you're not in Canada?
Not in Canada. Well, because everybody thinks that we...
because the Alpina's so far up.
Yeah.
We're in, like, way northern Michigan. So.
I'm Canadian, I'm not going to lie. So where are you?
If you put your hand up like a mitten, so it looks like Michigan, your index finger, we're almost all the way to the top of that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I used to live in Northwest Ohio, near Southeast Michigan.
That was when you were working for Lumberjack?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we did just a little bit of homework, but not a lot.
I always do my homework.
Yeah, well.
Shit. I spent a lot of lunch money at Lumberjack.
So why don't you start off by telling us about yourself, like where'd you grow up and whatnot?
Yeah, so Delaware County, they call it Delco. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. Delco kind of has its own unique kind of style, accent, working class kind of grit to it. It's probably even declined a little bit over the years in some of the parts of Delco. But you see it represented in like the TV show Mayor of Easttown that was on HBO a couple years back. That all took Delco. Really? Yeah, so that whole accent there and all the different nuances there, that's Delco. That's where I'm from. And that's where I've returned to after living in the Midwest for about 7 years when I was working at Lumberjack, running Thorp Records and Sailor's Grave Records full-time for a couple of years after my Lumberjack tenure. And then when I had some trouble and turbulence trying to stay afloat in the music industry full-time and then kind of reinvented myself in banking and finance while still maintaining some sort of, touch with music in the background.
Well, definitely. Got to have like that hardcore connection.
Yeah, well, it infuses everything I do, man. I mean, even now I'm approaching my 10th year as an executive fintech banker working in the payment space. So working with like a lot of innovative companies like PayPal or Chime or Venmo or those type of companies, helping them with innovative ways to move money and working in the corporate world. And at the same time, right, like I still I have this animating spirit within me that is informed by like hardcore. It's informed by like the energy of hardcore, like the ability to overcome obstacles and figure out problems, to keep going, to persevere.
Yeah, I was gonna say like perseverance,
like physical presence and shit I do. Like it's still like part of who I am, no matter what realm I'm playing in life.
Definitely, man. I hear you there. So,
wait, before you ask that, I have a question related to banking. So I hear people all the time that are like, "Hey, there's gonna be no cash soon." And since you're in the business of finding new ways to pay for things, what do you think? Do you think that cash is going to be non-existent in the near future or no?
I don't know. I mean, it's moving in that direction, right? Where there's the persistent nudge both in America and globally to, kind of de-emphasize cash, to make it harder to use, to make it even frowned upon. And I think with the push for the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, and other digital currency schemes, like it's going in the other direction of cash, and it's going away from feeless transactions.
Yeah.
So, is it going to go away fully? I don't know, but they're trying to erode it as quickly as possible. And when I say they, I mean that's a very, very large, undefinable they.
Yeah,
just
I have
all
a good
the powers that be global.
Of that recently. I went to Walls of Jericho show a couple weeks ago. I don't do shit because I have a 16-year-old. I just work, do this podcast, and try to get out when I can. So I just withdrew some cash out of the ATM. So, you might get a shirt, a hoodie, whatever. And when I went to pay for it, they're like, oh, shit, you have cash? And I was like, oh, I'm not that fucking old? Like, really? And, like, I was the only one that had cash. It fucking blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, like, hardcore it was all cash,
Yeah, like yeah.
Any show you go to, especially, like, smaller ones, right? Like, bigger ones, obviously, it's different when you buy tickets.
But, yeah, that was just like,
But, yeah,
wow.
I mean, it's a mind blower, right?
How
quickly or just how distinctly, like, the cash usage is eroding.
Oh,
I mean, I was at This Is Hardcore and had a booth selling the book and some carrots and, like, had to get Square set up to take card payments, which was cool. But it's just interesting that was mostly the option that people have. Like, they're just not carrying cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they can steer us that way by saying we don't accept cash. I mean, like, right? That's all you got to do.
So we do this podcast in the back of my record store, and I would say 65, 70% of our sales in a year are on card.
Definitely.
I would say that's low, that if you're getting 30% cash, that's actually pretty high for cash.
That's because of where we're at, I think.
Yeah, where we're at is
slightly behind.
the city that time forgot sort of thing. There's a lot of old school people here still.
It's a retirement community.
Yeah. Or like a place that
I think that's stuck. It too, right? So you talk about retirement community. I think it's like for those that are 40 and under. I mean, I'm older than that, and I mostly use plastic, but I carry cash too. I use cash for a small percentage of my spend. But for those that are older, like they still have that connection to cash, and it's a shame that that's eroding because the convenience of using digital payments is, unfortunately, I think negated by the risk of giving up anonymity, of giving up, visibility into your life, which is ultimately what's going to happen. I mean, I think it's probably, unless something stops it or mitigates the movement toward it. I mean, at some point.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Go ahead and ask what you were going to ask before I interrupted you, Jeremy.
Oh, it's cool.
I had somebody in the position to ask, so I needed to ask.
Yeah, and just to wrap that topic up before we move on, I would say if it comes to that, I'd be inclined to be more like Dennis Leary in Demolition Man and live in the fucking sewer.
Hell yeah, dude! Fucking rat burgers, bro.
Yep,
that's right.
So I got about halfway through your book, and I love the fucking quotes that you put in before every chapter, every little segue into the next thing from all these different people. And it's quite inspiring, I thought that was a very good idea.
Yeah. Any in particular strike your reading?
My favorite one is don't be the best, be the only. I love that, dude.
Nice.
Because I mean, I guess when I read that, it made me think, and it's a right term. There's always somebody's going to be better, but if you can do something that nobody else can do, you're fucking golden. At least that's how I take it.
Yeah, it's being the only of a category versus competing to be the best of a category. I mean, Peter Thiel writes about that in From Zero to One, and really that comes from my friend Srinav Vasral, who wrote the book Only is Better Than Best.
Okay.
He's become a friend of mine. I've gone on his podcast, and his book was one of the books that inspired me to write Failure Rules, and that was the name of one of his books, man. And it's just, I think it's key to differentiate that, right? Like, you want to find a way to exalt your most unique, talents and attributes and personality traits so that you become, that one of one.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Limited edition.
That kind of steered my way of my approach, I suppose, to my ultimate goal. So it kind of tweaked it, you know what I mean? Thinking that way. And I wrote it down on my fucking dry erase board at home. I fucking look at it every day now. I'm on a real PMA kick. Like the last year, I've been like super like going that way where I don't like using the word can't or being negative. I just got in an argument with my wife this morning while taking my kid to school, or while I was going to school because I was off today. And she said something about, well, you can't. And I snapped, I'm like, we're done. We don't say can't in this house, blah, And then she came back and was like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And it was, it was all good. But I'm just like, man, I pushed that I push the PMA, and I'm like a huge H2O fan, you know, so Bad Brains, all that good
Fucking
stuff.
H2O.
It's kind of like saying I get to instead of I have to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And then another one that I really liked, another quote was from Henry Ford, and it was, if money is your hope for independence, you will never have it. The only real security that a man will have in this world is a reserve of knowledge, experience, and ability. I thought that was fucking badass, too.
Yeah, that's the truth, man. That's stuff that's portable when you don't have money. That stuff still remains.
Exactly. And, yeah, you know, I've been there. I've had to sell all my shit. It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So
I lost it all and gained it all twice. Know all about it.
Yeah. It's rough, man.
So what really brought you on to starting to write a book? Because I know just from other podcasts I've listened to you on that it took you 7 years to write the book. What put you on that trajectory to do it?
It was just this beach walk where I was just convicted that I had to write about the value of failure. I was walking through 2 failures in my life. One was a divorce that was about to happen, and then one was a marital divorce, and then one was a business divorce that just happened that made me reevaluate everything. And I was thinking about all the different ventures and pursuits that I'd gone after in my 20s and 30s, and what had made me go after them. Why had I kept going when obstacles rose? Why was I not discouraged when things went terribly wrong? Why did I still have a lion heart? How did I reinvent myself? And it was enthusiasm. So I thought about the Winston Churchill quote that success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. And for me, enthusiasm was like this fucking endorphin of the spirit. It kept me going. So no matter what happened, I found a way to reinvent. There would be some latent desire in me that I had to chase after to at least try to satiate. And I just, I wanted to write about the things that inspired me, the inputs that kept me going, whether it's music, whether it's, books, or whether it's philosophy or spirituality or personal experiences, and aggregate it together to see if others would find value in it.
Well, we have, man, and it's much appreciated.
Awesome. It's great to hear. Mission accomplished.
Definitely.
So that was the genesis.
Did you have a writer's process that kind of worked for you, like a certain place that you went, or something you were listening to, or did it kind of just you were jotting things down as they came in your mind?
Yeah, so I didn't have a prescribed process, but a process emerged. So initially it was just 6 or 7 ideas on a digital sticky note. And then I just started building it out and writing. And the first draft was really rough and was mostly just me getting out my experience and my feelings about my experience, but they were reactionary feelings. And as I went back, I was able to actually think more about, real change that was wrought in me through these experiences. And that then kind of brought the writing into lesson territory. And I was able to extract lessons from each chapter. Those lessons then all kind of naturally grouped up to these overarching themes, which became the rules. So the 5 rules of failure. And so it just kind of revealed itself over time. And then I layered in the case studies from, the wide array of people, everybody from Ryan Holiday to Rodney Dangerfield to Andrew Yang to John Joseph, David Goggins to Stephen Pressfield. I layered all that stuff in to give it texture and to give it kind of, to take it away from just being the focus on me. Because, I'm only so interesting, it's more interesting to layer in famous or even not so famous, but emerging influencers or people in spaces that I really like or admire, my niche subcultural interests, whether it's the cigar world or hardcore punk or entrepreneurial thought or whatever it might be. And so, through many iterations over 7 years, it just really kind of revealed its structure to me and became what it is.
Yeah, I've tried writing small little things, and I have to say, first, kudos to you for writing a book, and 2, for writing a book with, it's 500 pages. That's quite a bit of writing, so it's a lot of work to put in.
Yeah, to start from 7 things in a digital sticky note.
Yeah.
I have millions of those, and that's about as far as they go,
Yeah, well, I caught lightning a few times, you know what I mean? There was just times in my life where the passion just drove me. And then it's just fucking the muse just was so clear to me. And it was almost this divine download just hitting me. It was I just had to deliver the package, right? The package of the words to the world. It was just coming fucking through me. Especially during the pandemic, I just remember I was in South Philly at the time, before I moved back to Delco, and I was on my balcony and fucking on the weekends, Wouldn't shower, nothing, just go out there in my fucking robe, light up a cigar, pour an Irish coffee. 6 hours later, I got 6,000 words, man. It was just like dump. Like, it was just coming to me. It was like, again, it was like this divine download. And when you catch momentum like that, you just got to roll with it. I write about that in the book. I write about Michael Connolly, the author of Bosch and Lincoln Lawyer, and he talks about getting that flow state and catching that momentum. And I was lucky to catch it. That was the second kind of back end of writing the book. I was probably half done and taking breaks here and there. And then when the pandemic hit, man, it's just like, boom, there's this vacuum of time and energy. And it just, that just
fucking
came
poured
about
out
and just fell into it.
That's fucking great. I kind of figured out on myself where I'm recently, after, I guess still got a halfway to go in your book, but where I feel like I'm most creative and most, I don't know, sharpest, I guess, like 4 a.m. to like 8 a.m, and then for whatever reason, it's shit. It's just like back to normal work day. But before that, it's just like my mind's fucking racing.
There's the least amount of distractions
in
those periods of time, though, probably.
I'll get to work. I'm like, I don't want to fucking weld, man. I got to fucking listen to this record, that record. I got to do this shit for the podcast. It's like get all distracted.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has different, like, times that work best for them. But, I mean, a lot of people, it is like an hour or so after they wake up is when they can do their deepest work if they can get rid of the distractions. And I find that to be true. And I also do really, really well working at night. Most nights, when everything's quiet and I'm not thinking about the next phone call and the texts start to stop and it's after 9 p.m. like 9 to 2 in the morning has always been like a time of fucking real productivity for me. Even if I'm like drinking bourbon and smoking cigars, crank up the tunes, I can just get lost into a flow state and really find that momentum.
So this book isn't your first book, right?
Yeah, I wrote a spy novel. I don't think it came out like 2015. So that was my first book, and I didn't put too much into that. It was kind of my first crack at writing, but it gave me like some experience, like the writing and publishing process. But then when Failure Rules came out, I really went wider. I think it has a lot more, viability in a bunch of different spaces. And nonfiction typically does better than fiction. And this was more encapsulating of all my interests and more just dear to me just because it's pretty vulnerable about like the core experiences in my life and the things that are most important to me in terms of like lessons and principles and like philosophical anchorings.
Were there any failures from your first book that you wrote that you used as building blocks into your second book?
Yeah, for sure. The notion of trying to keep the chapters tight and trying to have like structure within the chapter. I mean, it's different because it was going from fiction to nonfiction, and also just really taking seriously editing feedback. So the first book, I had one editor and I didn't take to heart all his suggestions. Second book, I had a team of professionals working at Scribe Media who had all worked at big publishing houses, hired them, and they all had input. And they really helped me take the manuscript, I think, from good to great. And so that was wildly important.
I guess though too with fiction, I mean, wouldn't you say you have a lot more cushion, a lot more room to just do whatever you want? I mean, wouldn't you say from a writer's point of view, or no? Am I wrong? Totally.
Yeah, from like a standpoint, yeah, that's true. It's definitely more imaginative, but there are things too with fiction even that I learned from that book from feedback that if I write another novel, I'll take to heart. Like it's just the idea that making sure that each chapter has some sort of dramatic event and or some dramatic character development and kind of ends with some sort of cliffhanger on each chapter to get people on the page and to keep the chapters tight, like keep them like 1,500 words. So people don't feel like they're diving into too much to commit to a chapter before they go into.
Yeah, those are things if I sat down to write, I would have never thought of. I mean, it'd just be like, okay, story arc, blah, blah, blah.
Be like a Stephen King book.
Yeah, it'd be like a Stephen King book. But
I mean, even with Failure Rules, I tried to keep each chapter to 1,500 words. That was my goal. But then there were certain ones where it just made sense to let them go longer.
Well, so you don't have to. Also, I like the your Carl moment. Tell us about your Carl moment.
Yeah, so Carl was a real dude. Not going to reveal his last name, but he was a lawyer. Moved to the Philly area to become the VP of Relapse Records. And I was working out in the gym one night, Philly suburb, and at the time I was really struggling with working this shitty job as a bill collector for Ford Credit. And I think at the time I'd just been recalled to that job after having been laid off. And I saw Carl at the gym one night. He had a Snapcase shirt on. I never really liked Snapcase, just to be honest. But respect him, right? But it was more like, oh, there's somebody with a hardcore shirt in the gym.
Right,
like,
right, definitely.
That's crazy. And it's like just a connection. So we started talking. Next thing you knew, I'd already started Thorp Records, but had only released one record. It was Breakdown, or I think I might have released a Rikers record too. And so I wanted to get in the music business. And turns out I found out what he did and followed up with him back and forth for a couple of weeks or whatever, and interviewed at Relapse and ended up getting a job at Relapse running their wholesale department. And so it was like the Carl moment is the idea, like there could be this breakthrough connector if you're aware enough to see somebody in your life, whether it's a mentor or just a super connector, that engaging with that person and seizing an opportunity that might arise from knowing them can totally change the trajectory of your career and or your life. And this was one of them. Like, this got me my first job in the music industry, which was a paid education to help me run my labels at night. That then led to working at Lumberjack, a bunch of other things, right? And it was just like that one meeting that I couldn't have planned. It just sort of happened serendipitously, but you have to be aware of these things and you have to keep your eyes open for them.
You almost have to grab it.
That yeah, right. Yeah, it's the idea that all around us are opportunities that we're not even aware of, but we need to try to be aware of any breadcrumbs that are put our way to just see where they might lead.
Kind of what we're doing with when we started the podcast, which people that listen to us have heard this story a few times, but it was just like, well, we bullshit in here, let's record it. And then it turned into, well, we know this guy plays in this band, and then it turned into interviewing people. And now we're all the way to, you. And it's a real it's a nice change of pace from life, you know what I mean? To come in here for an hour, 2 hours and talk with people, to learn about other people's lives. But it would be nice to take it into a direction to where we could live off of it, not even comfortably, just maybe as I am now,
Are you saying you live uncomfortably now?
Not uncomfortably, but I live how I live. I don't know how to put it. Around here,
podcasts are hard, man. It's I've definitely learned a lot as we're going along.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I find kind of incomparable with your journey is we're learning as we go, just as you did with this book,
Yeah, it was the same way with the record labels, man. I mean, I learned a lot of hard lessons early on, but just found a way to keep going,
Definitely labor of love, eh?
It is, right? But it's I don't know, for me, even if it's something that might not be monetizable or might be, or you might not be able to make a living off of, you got to try.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You still got to do it in a smart way, in a patient way. But I can't let something that I really, really want to do just go by the wayside because it seems like it's too difficult or might not be practical or might not work. I had to fucking try. And if I try and it only works halfway or works for a little while or doesn't work at all, at least I tried and then I'll have no regrets. Destroying future regret is very important to me. I don't ever want to look back and be oh, I could have, I should have. Why didn't I ever do that? No, I did it and it didn't work, or it did work, or it worked for a little bit and then didn't work. And I'm satiated. Do it all, chase it until satiation. Either way. And everything that's burned within me, I chase at some point. And then there's always new things that come up. There's new things that, even come up now that I might want to do in the future,
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of as my portfolio pursuits evolve, if something drops off and then there's an opening, I already have a desire to invoke to fill that space.
So you always have, you're just the type of person that just always has that need to pursue things, basically even if they're unrelated to each other?
Yeah, for sure. Because they have different purposes.
Right.
I mean, anything I do in banking and finance, side investments, they might be more practically oriented. They're still interesting to me. The record labels has its own kind of category. The book has its own category. And even within the books, there's two very different types. I mean, the spy novel versus a business psychology book.
Yeah,
very different. I mean, and then, I've done bodybuilding competitions and, owned a gym and I've owned other businesses. And, I just have keeping my interests very wide has allowed me to not only be really over time more financially stable, but also I'm more fulfilled. I become more interesting as I'm more interested,
Right.
And then you meet different types of people. And then as your life changes, you don't over-identify with anything. So, if you think of yourself like I'm just a mailman or I'm just a banker, but then something happens where you're no longer that, and you put all your like identity eggs in that basket, and then it changes, like,
Yep.
what do you got? Like, you got to have dimension to your life so that you're flexible and multidimensional. Just don't over-identify with one thing. Just keep kind of an evolving portfolio of pursuits. And I found that to be a real key to life, at least for me.
Oh, I think you're correct. I was forced into that kind of situation when I was younger with a job, which I thought I was going to work there forever. Everybody did, right? And
yeah.
I never in a million years would I thought I'd become a welder. But that was the quickest way to get the quickest amount of money. You know what I mean? And with the shortest amount of school or whatever. So here I am. And
welder/podcast host.
Yeah. So it's like, and it's gotten me, to where I'm at, which is better than where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
and that's important.
You definitely have like an expansive portfolio of things between author, label owner, gym owner. I see like your cigar stuff on the Instagram and whatnot. And I don't know if you run your own cigars or like you have your own cigars made at this point yet, but definitely your eggs are spread around.
I don't have my own cigars, but I have a cigar line for my clothing company, Soul and Fire. So Soul and Fire Smokewear. Soul and Fire is a chapter in the book, so it's a clothing company connected to that chapter.
Yeah, you have shirts, tank tops. I thought that's some other shit. Can't remember.
Yeah, got a PMA one, and all kinds of different ones.
That's
but like
dope.
Half of them is like cigar, the other half are like general themes from the book.
Yeah, definitely. That's always nice to have a little revenue stream there.
Yeah.
Are either of your record labels, are they still currently active or no? Because I know, like, I've followed and seen a ton of the Sailor's Grave bands, and then, like, I've seen some of the Thorp Records bands, but are either labels still putting stuff out, or is that kind of on the back burner?
So Thorp is pretty much a catalog label at this point, hasn't released anything since 2009. Sailor's Grave is the more active one, and kind of put out a batch of records here and there as opportunity or time allows or interest. So Sailor's Grave is still, I would say, semi-active, still working with a lot of the bands that are like touring on the road still. Goddamn Gallows, the Coffin Cats, Flatfoot 56, who actually played my wedding a few years back. So cool. Yeah, still that would be the one that's more like active. But I haven't put records out for years for Sailor's Grave either. But there's a possibility I might be doing some stuff in 2024. I kind of shifted my focus and money and energy towards the book stuff recently, so that's kind of why the label's been quiet. But at some point, I'll probably start doing some stuff again with Sailor's Grave. It's kind of more, I don't know, we've really found a niche there that really works from an economic standpoint, from a reputation standpoint, and aesthetic standpoint.
And you have a solid run of bands on both labels, so... And I remember when Goddamn Gallows' last record that they just did came out. I remember buying that from the Sailor's Grave website. I think it was like 2017 or 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2018, The Trial. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, The Trial, that's what it was.
Yeah, great record.
I was trying to think of the name in my head as I was saying that, and I kept wanting to say The Maker, and that was the one before it.
That was the one before it, yeah, that's right.
I have a question, if you remember, about a band from Thorp. The band's name was Dead Serious, and the album was, like, the CD was pink.
Oh, yeah.
They had a song called Smile, You Yellow-Toothed Bastard. It was, like, so fucking tough, and nobody, like, me and one other person, when we were kids, like, we were fucking, yeah, this shit's great, and nobody cared. They were like, it's not, because it's just, like, so tough and funny.
Yeah, they had kind of a low impact, but they're a great band. I mean, they were coming from the... what at the time was a real burgeoning D.C., Virginia, Maryland scene, Striking Distance, Down to Nothing. Dead Serious was friends with those guys, so I'd done the Striking Distance record, Down to Nothing, Dead Serious, all those.
Okay, that's how that connection happened.
Up in that crop. They were good, man. They were good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Shit's like I said. I remember that came out on Thorp, Northside Kings, that Madball NYHC was like, that's like their best fucking EP probably.
It's pretty good.
I don't know. I was just drifting there for a sec.
Yeah, that's, I mean, the Mambo EP, that's when For My Enemies, that debuted to the world. That was also on their full length later on Ferret, but
Yeah,
it first
yeah.
came out on
Oh, yeah, that's like a get pumped song for sure. When I was young, like I said,
yeah.
that came out when I was probably 17, maybe 18.
Nice.
So I was still
Nice.
what's the word? Malleable. Like you could influence me in
Yeah.
doing dumb shit. So, yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you guys were just talking about the Coffin Cats, and I noticed you quoted them from The Way of the Road from the song. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He did a whole chapter on that. Yeah. Just because like they were like this model of like, like what we were talking about before, like only is better than best, like their
Right.
uniqueness. I mean, yeah, they did the psychobilly aesthetic and all of that, but like they had their own iconography, like just everything they did to create the entity of the Coffin Cats was really wholly unique. And just the personalities between the founding members, who are now also the returning members, Vic and Eric and Tommy, like there's just this distinctness about all of them. And so it's just writing about like this concept of having the book of thing one and thing two. Thing one being like an enabler pursuit that allows you to like more strategically go after like an aspirational thing two dream pursuit. And like the definition of the thing two being something that like really represents like the most, the highest, composite of your unique attributes and creativity and all that. So like Coffin Camps were an example of that. So wrote a whole chapter about them, related to that theme, and even talking about how they organized the business of the Coffin Cats and how that was just unique. And
I remember Coffin Cats when they were V8 Nightmare.
oh right, that's right, yeah.
I was
yep.
just thinking about Buzzkill Bitch. That was a fucking popular song around here.
Yep. Yeah, no, I've seen Coffin Cats.
Yeah, well, they're still going, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they
So
still tour.
like it was last summer, like they're just still going, man. They don't fucking stop.
No, they've been a band forever.
I forget what the anniversary was. I don't know if it was 15 or 20 years, but somewhere around
It was
Fuck,
it was
like
20.
it's
I'm
20.
pretty
I
sure.
don't know.
20 fucking years.
I think that's probably the case.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 20 because I remember seeing
Yeah.
it and I was like, holy fuck, 20 years.
Yeah, that's time flies,
I'll
man.
bet they'll get to 30 too, given that they're all sober now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they'll definitely make it to 30. They'll still be playing, I guarantee it. I think Goddamn Gallows will get there too.
Yeah.
That's another band that.
Yeah. Well, goddamn Gallows. They don't even have I don't think they have even regular jobs really. I mean, a little bit here and there, but
Yeah,
they're like committed road warriors. They're almost like fucking gypsies, like that's their life.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes with their music though. They do have that gypsy sound, so.
Yes, they do. Like gypsy punks almost. Yep.
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 Born to Lie, that pops in my head out of that. I had a really crappy band, and we played with the Goddamn Gallows one time. It was a lot of fun, though, super nice dudes.
Yeah. Wild. Love them.
Love them.
Great live show.
So you were running labels at the time of like physical media not really doing so well, and you're still kind of in that business now. So like, what do you notice now with how much physical media has changed, like as far as running labels? I know you said you're a little inactive with it, but you caught the tail end of it.
Yeah. I mean, so at this point, like the highest value is in streaming long term. Short term, you might get some vinyl sales with enthusiasts, and then some ongoing sales through the band on the road for vinyl, maybe a little bit for CD for some bands, but CD's pretty much dead.
Yeah.
So like it's even downloads are a smaller percentage in streaming. So I mean, it's just everything's digitized. Our world is becoming more and more virtual in all realms of life, like whether it's banking, like we talked about, or music, or
even
whatever else.
Too.
Like
it freaks me out, man. Like all I see is Skynet. Grew up on Terminator. That's like all I see. Fuck freaks me out.
We sell more cassette tapes in the store here than we do CDs. It's weird.
I can see that. Well, because there's a nostalgia factor to that, right? Like CDs is still seen as like only recently demised,
right?
Whereas cassette seems like more old and more cool, more like an artifact. It's like I can see why it would be cool for certain enthusiasts to want to get cassettes, whereas CD doesn't seem very archival.
Yeah, it's the same with like DVDs. Like people buy VHS tape before a DVD, but I think CDs and DVDs they'll have their day in the sun again, I'm sure. If people
Yeah.
can still sell hit clips, we'll be able to sell fucking CDs at some point.
Yeah, I got some boxes in my garage if you ever need them. Little CDs. So.
Yeah, we do buy them. We just don't pay much for them.
Yeah.
So I have a
Yeah.
cigar question that's kind of a little unrelated to things, but I've always wondered this. What makes a good cigar? Because I've smoked like...
Oh, man.
I know you're like much more fluent in this than I ever have been or will be, but I've smoked a few things that people are like, oh, this is a good cigar. And I taste it and I'm like, this is shitty. And I'm like, I don't understand how people enjoy smoking cigars. But then the enthusiasts are so enthusiastic that it leads me to believe that something out there has to be good.
Well, like, I don't know your palate. And it's also like your palate graduates, right, through repeated smoking. So, and it depends what you pair it with and time of day. But like, there's a number of brands that I like. I like My Father, West Tampa Tobacco. I like CAO. I like Oliva. I like San Lantano. There's a bunch of them that I like. But, they're all kind of like price range somewhere between like $8 and $15 a stick, right? So I also like box press the most. I smoke a lot of non-box press cigars too, but I like to feel box press. Good draw, very fluffy kind of smoking experience, maintains construction, holds an ash. All those things are very important indicators. Typically in the morning, I'll like something like light to medium bodied with coffee. And then in the afternoon, the evening, I graduate to, more, sometimes sun-grown too, or I'll graduate to like, Maduros, and more darker, more rich, full-body cigars. But even now, like I used to like, buy the same couple cigars and get a box every 2 weeks or a couple boxes every 2 weeks of the same cigars. But now I just switch it up a lot, man, because I just really enjoy like just trying a whole bunch of different ones, So I try to try new stuff all the time. I'm really into Plasencia lately. It's a really great stick that I've been into. So I don't know. I think it's just certain people love it and certain people don't. There certainly are shitty cigars that can turn you off if that's what you get first.
Right.
But I would find somebody who is really an enthusiast and can steer you right to give you a good experience.
So, yeah, there's so much more to that than I thought there would be. But it's kind of like wine, too. Like, there's a lot to everybody's palate is different. But we do have, like, a cigar store here that has, like, a humidified shopping area and all this stuff. So I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. It might be a little pricey, but it's a great smoke. Go get an Oliva Milano. Get one of those.
Olivia Milano. I'm going to write that down.
Oliva Milano. Yeah, go get one of those.
I got to go get rolled.
Yeah, you want to stay away from like convenience store shit. You want to go to like a high-end real like tobacconist and get a real cigar. I mean, you're going to spend some money, but it's going to be a 90-minute experience. If you pair it with the right beverage, might change your life.
Right on.
So I for years broke down Philly sweets and rolled weed in them, but you can't find them anymore.
Well, hey, that's a different purpose. That makes sense. Because those things ought to be gutted. You don't want to smoke them as is.
Yeah,
so
I never even tried one actually as a normal cigar, just because I knew it would taste bad. And like,
yeah, you don't want to smoke that as.
I don't smoke cigarettes and stuff, so like aside from weed, I'm not really smoking anything. But I am interested in trying out like a good cigar though, just to experience it,
Yeah. Try a good premium. You go with the Oliva Melania. Start off with that.
All right. I got to get papers when I leave here, so I'll check for it.
We're going to be all fucking puffing cigars in here. How many do you smoke a day? Like one in the
3
morning?
3 to 4 a day usually.
3 to 4?
Yeah.
And you're basically always
3
puffing.
to 4, yeah, throughout the day.
That's cool. And you don't, I guess
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not working out or in the shower having sex, I'm pretty much smoking a cigar.
Nah, fuck that. Bring the cigar to the gym and in the bed. Just keep it on there.
Yeah, dude, it's always burning. But that's cool.
It can work in the bed, though I have to carry to the bedside. I do smoke in the car on the way to the gym.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but I got ventilation in my office at home, and I work from home. So, as long as I'm not on a Zoom call, I'm puffing away most of the time. But, they last a long time, too. You don't inhale, and, they taste differently with different foods or beverages, like coffee in the morning, bourbon and tequila at night, whatever it is. And so, I don't know, man. Life is just very dry without them for me. Like when there's been times where I've been like sick or whatever, and I can't really smoke, like life just seems less enjoyable. It just seems dry.
Well, I noticed when you on your Instagram, when you go to like cigar little conventions and this and that, you look like you're having a pretty fucking good time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I went to the Vegas PCA Premium Cigar Association trade show. It was like 5 or 6 days, and like everybody was just so happy. It was all the enthusiasts and the people in the business and everything like that. I've been to a lot of trade shows, in my life in different spaces, whether it's in fitness or music or banking. And music is fun, obviously, but like I've never seen more happier people than at the cigar trade show.
Where
Like
was that
just
located?
smiles, like just enjoying the culture, enjoying everything.
Vegas.
Like it was just fucking awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. It was 5 or 6 days in Vegas. That's nuts.
Yeah, I was actually there a full 7 days because I buffered a couple of days after the conference to just party and go to Fremont Street and just screw around. And we went to the Punk Rock Museum, which was fucking awesome. Got to drink at the bar at the Punk Rock Museum and see all the exhibits. They had a killer room just dedicated just to hardcore. So they had all like the old New York bands up there. They had, Youth of the Day and Sick of It All. Had a little Madball picture in there, which was awesome. Like see a band I worked with, like in the museum,
Fucking A.
Got to see a Motorhead shrine they have there with Lemmy's actual boots and guitar and a bottle of Jack Daniels. That was awesome. And Suicidal Tendencies was in there and just so much fucking history. It was just, they really did a good job organizing it from like decade to get decade and splitting out the subgenres and the different movements. And it was really cool.
Fuck, man. Whenever I get to Vegas, I'll stop in there.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's worth it. I mean, it's not like a all day thing, but go in there for an hour or two, just check out the tour and go have a drink and hang out for a bit. Cool. They got a bar there, which is cool.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking genius idea. Was Fat Mike there when you went there?
He wasn't. When we went, like it was later at night, so there was no tour guide. He was gone, but I guess the tour guide that day was, I think it was one of the guys who was in ministry and was also in Nausea, but I don't remember his name.
Is that what they always do? They just have people from bands?
I just noticed on Fat Mike's Instagram, he's always got some celebrity tour guide.
Okay.
So I thought maybe,
Yeah, well, I mean, he was one of the ones. I think I don't know if he owns it or whatever, but he was one of the ones helping to get it going. Like he was.
Yeah, I don't know if he owns it, but he definitely had his hand in the making of.
Yeah, making it happen for sure. Yeah, I mean the guided tours were more expensive. They were like $100 versus I think it was like $30 just to go in. So I was only going to pay for a guided tour if it was like really somebody I wanted to get guided by. You know. So
yeah, that's
Roger Morel
quite
from
the
AF
difference.
did it. What's that?
That's a big difference, man. 100 to 30. I think I'd take the $30 way myself.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like when Pete from Sick of It All did it or Roger from AF did it, then maybe I'd pay. But,
I guess you do have a point.
Unless it was somebody I really didn't, wanted to hang out with, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I would, especially like from somebody who's been there and like rubbed elbows with a lot of the people in that scene. Like you can just kind of guide yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, it was great. I'd go back again if next time I'm in Vegas for sure. The cool part is that they have a bar, right? So you get the experience, but then you can hang out with other people and shoot the shit and have a drink and meet them. They got a tattoo shop in there too. So maybe next time I'll get some ink.
It hits every aspect of the whole scene.
Who do they have? Do they have anybody in particular working in the tattoo parlor?
Tattoo shop? Not when I was there. It was kind of like nobody was even in that area, which I was a little bummed about. But I know that recently CJ Ramon actually was there doing tattoos.
Oh, shit.
So cool. Yeah. And I don't know who else I guess they have guest tattooers, right? And they had a bunch of flash on the wall, like very specific, like genres or bands. Like they had a whole flash of Coxbar. They had a flash of Bane. They had like a Rancid flash. It was like cool. They had like a lot of like
That's
cool
fucking
like
gnarly.
band.
They had Bane?
That was the one that took me by surprise that they were even in there.
Definitely.
Because hardcore is more lesser represented there, let alone straight edge fucking hardcore. So it was kind of interesting that they had Bane flash.
When I took our son to a show, it was for Bane's final run of shows, and they're still going, so that was kind of funny.
Yeah. They just played This Is Hardcore.
Did you go to that?
Last month. Yeah, I went one day. I had like a table with selling Failure Rules and Soul and Fire merch.
Awesome.
So I was there for the one day for Saturday.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
always packed.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, man. It's an institution now. I mean, Joey's done an amazing job with that for years and years and years. For me, like I kind of got out of touch with a lot of the newer bands, and so kind of like getting in touch with that was cool. Like seeing Mind Force and Raw Brigade and Pain of Truth, like those bands really fucking rule. It's cool to see like, oh, hardcore is actually not dead.
No,
Or like
yeah.
these new bands come out that actually have really distinct sounds and really kick ass, or whether it's Drain or Ingrown or whoever else. I'm like, man, it's like really cool to see.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
I was just gonna ask about Drain right before you name dropped it.
I have a Pain of Truth album like in the mail somewhere.
Yeah, they're good.
I totally agree. It's like, and my actually it's my old lady that was. She's like, have you like? She's the one that found Drain originally. She's like, have you heard this? You know, because she comes from this like the scene too. You know, like around here from like the late '90s. And then I'm like hearing all. It's just, I think it's a fucking awesome time for hardcore.
Yeah, which I never would have predicted. Like I stopped paying attention for a while and really only paid attention to street punk. And then coming back, I'm like, oh wow, this is so cool to see that it's coming back, and it's coming back with like roots intact, but still with like a new flavor and diversity to it.
Right,
you know?
right.
I think it's cool. You know, it's great to see like that. My son, who's 22, like his generation, like there's kids his age getting into hardcore now. Like that makes me happy.
Yep.
And it's like all over the world too. It's not just New York and California.
Yeah, for sure.
Like there's bands coming out of Australia, out of Korea, out of fucking Alaska.
Well, that's what's so crazy is like hardcore in particular. There was no internet. You just connected with people that you connected with over music or whatever. So like when you think about it, we missed out on a shit ton of music that we now have access to. You know. With the foreign bands and
fully democratized it for sure.
And I love there's a whole grip of bands that are just
like I think they're from Colombia or something.
Right. But they might sound like they're from fucking the Lower East Side or something. You know, I've heard bands that sound like a straight up American band, and then they're like, oh, we're from Finland or something. And what? You're not playing metal? I don't know. It's funny.
Right.
Metal.
Yeah.
A lot
of good foreign oi bands. Stomper 98, Lion's Law.
Well, we had an interview with a band from Belgium, and that was pretty cool. You know, it's always a place I wanted to visit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been, but yeah.
What?
Just to fucking hang out there, man. There's the scene there, fucking awesome. And then Germany would be another place I'd hang out in.
Germany would be cool, but I don't know. Belgium, I guess. I hear they have good waffles.
Shit, I'd be all over that.
Right, yeah.
So what are some of the bands that got you into hardcore? Like you said, hardcore has always been a big part in your life. What started that for you?
Yeah, I guess probably like when I was in like 7th grade, being introduced to like punk bands after listening to classic rock and like metal, like listening to like hair bands and then shit like AC/DC and Sabbath and classic rock. And all of a sudden discovering from like my skater friends, like, oh, here's like Murphy's Law, their self-titled album. Here's like Black Flag. Here's like this band Ruin from Philly. Here's Sex Pistols. Here's even like Dead Milkman. Like getting introduced to those bands. And once I heard like Black Flag and Murphy's Law, it was over.
Yeah,
I was just, awesome. This resonates with my spirit, my energy, not this other stuff. Like my energy's raw and this shit's raw. My energy's urgent and this shit's urgent. This is where I need to like lean in,
I seen Murphy's Law. They played with Earth Mover, Cold as Life, and the Alliance, I think.
I also have seen Murphy's Law. They're fucking badass.
Yeah, Jimmy G is one of a kind. Talk about only is better and best. That's Jimmy G.
Yeah.
There will never be another.
Fuck no, and you can watch him on Donahue, from like 1986 or something. That's Have you seen that? It's fucking awesome. It's a little kid.
Yeah, and Vinny Stigma on there.
That's another one I was thinking that would be a cool guest tattooer at the punk rock thing. Fuck yeah. I'd have Stigma put something on me for sure.
There'd be a fucking lineup.
You make you laugh the whole time. I remember I went to see AF in Vegas once because I was at a conference for Lumberjack that we had with all our labels back in the day, and AF was playing, and I was there with Dave Stein, AF's attorney, who had also kind of done some legal work. He was actually representing some bands I was signing, right? So we kind of knew each other, and we went to go see AF, and it was the first time I met Stigma. And it was after the show, and once he found he dropped a reference to the Accused, the old band, the Accused, more fun than Open Casket Funeral, their album. He said the Accused, I said the name of the album, and he was so excited that I even knew who the fuck they were. And all of a sudden, like he just started telling joke after joke to me, and I was laughing because he felt funny. And then it was like I was like this captured audience for him, man. And he just like all night sitting in the van, like just hanging out. He was just cracking me up, man. It was just like he came alive. He was put on a show, you know.
That's fucking awesome.
Fucking guys.
I actually, the one and only time I saw AF, it was with Murphy's Law and Madball and Death Threat, and that's been the best show I've seen in my, life. But I think that's going to change October 7th.
Oh, it's October 7th. Is that the Cold as Life reunion? Is that when that is?
And it's like, I'm almost, dude, Terror, Death Threat, Integrity, like, it's just fucking crazy. And there's a lot
Madball got it too.
Madball, yeah. Fucking nuts, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Is Hate Inks playing too?
Yeah, that's going to be...
that's wild.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts.
The basis for Cold as Life, Craig Holloway, he actually did all the designs for me for Soul and Fire for the cigar streetwear line. They're all Craig Holloway designs.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. He's fucking awesome. I went and visited him in Texas, and him and his wife, right when we were getting the designs together, because he lives near Austin, and that's where my publisher was for the book. And I was down there before the book was released, getting the marketing plan all ironed out with them, and met with him, and we were finishing up the designs. And yeah, he's a fucking awesome dude.
Crazy, man. Small world.
Yeah, I've never met him, but I've definitely seen a ton of his artwork.
I have some of it hanging on the wall.
I got a lot of it at my house, actually.
Hanging on walls.
I got a Cold as Life shirt on right now.
It might be one of his.
Yeah, it might be. I'd have to take it off and look at the back.
You can leave it on, dude.
I didn't plan on taking it off. So anyway, back to the book before we wrap things up here. Are you doing any touring, like book signings around places or like pop-ups and stuff like that? I know you said you were doing a few different places that you were set up selling.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still focusing on doing as many podcasts as possible. So podcast tour kind of has the most impact right now and is the easiest to get set up, Right, but I am also in the fall and into the winter going to be doing like book signings and like little events at cigar lounges. I'm going to be doing one in Dallas in the fall, another one in Jersey, and a bunch of others in the Northeast. So I'm going to see how that goes. And then from there, I got some ideas of potentially partnering up with some other music-oriented authors and doing I got this concept of doing like a punk rock PMA spoken word tour. So that's totally in its like developing stages, but that's something I want to try to put together, and got some people in mind, see if it might work. Because I think that would be fucking rad. Kind of filling that void that's kind of been left by like Rollins spoken word, even though he still does it, but like that same kind of idea, but with like two or three other authors that are like in the, if not punk, then punk adjacent. And then, so that, and then I might at some point even try to do some signings in the actual bookstores. But for right now, I'm focusing on doing as many podcasts as possible. And at some point I'll start my own podcast, but I'm just building up my own network more now and put my energies towards appearances. And then maybe sometime next year, I might actually launch the Failure Rules podcast.
Yeah, that would be sweet. It's building up the network is the main thing. Because like if you already have a pre-existing network of people willing to listen to what you say, then your podcast will start off a lot better.
Yeah, right. And then going on other podcasts and, can have a lot of those hosts as guests and just different people I know or have met through music or through the cigar world or now through the entrepreneurial space. I mean, I've been on a wide variety of podcasts. I mean,
we
everything from
went
like spirituality and like mindset to like cigars to hardcore, everything.
On your cigar tour, are you going to come anywhere close to Michigan?
It's a good question. It's a possibility. I mean, I used to live out that way, so I definitely know some lounges, more like in Toledo.
That's what
or like in
I
Detroit,
could make it to Ohio, or we could definitely make it to Detroit.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
So that's a possibility.
Got a couple people.
I mean, record stores is another thing too. I was talking to Jay Reason since I was on the Diablo's Den podcast with him and Isaac, and he owns a record store in Connecticut. So he talked about maybe me coming up there and doing a book signing. So I might do that and then couple it with a signing at a lounge in Connecticut. So record stores is another possibility. So lots to do. And my plan is a multi-year plan, right? So it's like, I don't need to do it all in the first year the book comes out. Like over the next 2-3 years, I'm just like building up these connections, this audience, and just really enjoying having fun with it and just trying to connect with people. I mean, the whole impact is the main motivation here more than anything else. So like, as far as I'm concerned, like I've already begun to accomplish what I set out to do, which is to get it out into the world and to start making some impact. I mean, people have read the book and apparently it's resonating with the people that have. So just try to reach more people.
Yeah, no, it's a good read, and it's something that like you don't have to invest all of your time into it. Like you can read a few chapters, set it down. If you're reading another book, pick that up and then kind of bounce back and forth to it. Like it's not like you have to dive into the whole thing all at once.
That's the idea. It was meant to be like snackable, read a chapter or two here and there, still get something out of each standalone chapter, but it also works end to end. That's exactly how I tried to write it, for sure.
What I got out of it personally was patience. Like, you gotta have patience. I'm a person that has not had a lot of patience, but knowing that this book took you 7 years, it's a inspiration, or it's promising that I can still get shit done, and it's not gonna happen tomorrow or the next day. But to have, like you said, multi-year plans, the way to go.
Yeah, multi-year plans, just like meaningful contributions on a regular basis, compounds over time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not always going to be exciting, even when it's something you're passionate about. It's not always going to be exciting. Like you could sit down to do a podcast one night and be really, really tired. You love it. You'll feel good afterwards, because you might not always feel like it in the moment. But like committing to doing it enough where it doesn't wear you out or compromise your day job or whatever, but just consistently returning to it, it just compounds over time. And that's the idea, right? Like it's the old cliche that like most overnight successes took decades to make, right? Like there's no such thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's about consistently doing work over time, regardless of how you feel, knowing that when you do it, you're going to feel better afterwards. You're always going to feel like you're moving towards a larger goal. And it's the old, like Rich Roll says, it's like mood follows actions. So just commit to like manageable actions over time.
Yeah, it's definitely inspiring. As far like we do the podcast and we're always trying to figure out ways to get it out there more, and like to have the encouragement from people that is like, this isn't going to happen right away. You might have, a high point, a low point, another high point, and it's volatile. It'll go back and forth. And same with the record store. Like this week has been a slow week, but people return back to school and parents got shit going on and whatever. So I get it, but that's when you're an entrepreneur or doing things for yourself, creating or whatever, it's a constant up and down.
It is. And it's like, if you can always return to the mindset of like, hey, I want results, but why I really got into this was because I enjoy the process or being engaged in this activity, or I want to make some sort of impact, and any sort of evidence of that, even if small, with any sort of reasonable frequency is exciting to me. Then like, if you return to that ethos, I found that keeps you going. And then results vacillate over time. But like, if you do it because you're just like, I just love that I get to do this, or I've created a mechanism for me to be involved with this. And then I think that becomes more sustainable. It just becomes like a lifestyle versus like some goal, So
right.
It's not like there's an end to it. It's just something you do, like working out. Like you're always going to work out. You're always going to have podcasts, or like you're always going to write, or you're always going to do whatever it is. It's just make it part of a lifestyle thing, and not like some goal that if you don't get to X by certain date, it failed. You got to get that out of your head.
Yeah, or if you're not an overnight billionaire, viral sensation, or whatever the case is.
Exactly.
I mean, there's been weeks we only got like 10 people listening or whatever, but I do it for them 10 people. I don't care. We do it for us.
Yeah, we do it for us, honestly. Like, I just want to talk to you. And if some people want to listen, fucking cool,
that's right. It's just like, and that's it, right? Like that's being in it for it, in it for like the value of doing it, regardless of, the scalable value to other people. You want that to happen. That can be a natural byproduct, but if you're in it for it, just keep being in it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and working out's a good analogy, because like once that becomes habit, that becomes like I didn't work out today because I felt kind of shitty this morning, and my days felt off all day.
Yeah, and it's like for me, like building on that analogy, like if I don't work out for if I go more than 2 days without working out, I know I'm going to feel awful all around, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, every way.
Yeah.
And now it's like stuff I do with Failure Rules fills me up so much that like if I go a week and I didn't have a podcast to do that week, or there wasn't some meaningful momentum in some other aspect of promoting Failure Rules, like I don't feel good about things. So it's like I'm always returning to it, always returning to it. It doesn't have to be a lot of time even. Like it might be like 3 to 4 hours a week, and not even. but it's like I always have to like feel like there's a meaningful momentum movement or just reasonable movement, and it's the process that is fulfilling even more than the results. Results are great too, but like they kind of fade, but consistent engagement with the process is like fulfilling ongoing.
Yeah, and the fact that you get to do this for your living is, I mean, that in a way keeps you going too. Because even a bad day at the store here, I'm like, well, I could be working in a warehouse somewhere. So
yeah, just contrasting it with what you don't want to do or you're not meant to do. It's a big motivator.
Yeah, well, the book, we're not through yet, but so far it's great. I want to thank you, one, for taking the time to jump on here and sit and talk with us and bullshit about music and the book and whatnot. But do you have anything that you want to say, like if you want to give away your social tags and all that, and anything you want to have to say about the book itself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would say, listeners can find me on Instagram at Andrew Thorp King, no E on the end of Thorp. Same for my website, Andrew Thorp King, no E on the end of Thorp. Find the book anywhere books are sold online. Kick-ass audiobook, too. Was narrated by Jay Asang, who was an actor on the show Twin Peaks on Showtime. He also was part of he did the video production for Machine Gun Blues by Social Distortion. He gives a really urgent cadence to the reading, really does justice to the text. But yeah, look me up online, Instagram, my website, got a YouTube channel, too. And also there's a soundtrack on Spotify and Apple Music, a companion soundtrack to the book. The actual songs I've listened to either while writing the book or songs that really inspired me or helped me get through the hard times that I talk about in the book. So soundtrack's got everything from Terror to Blood for Blood to Cro-Mags, Hatebreed, Madball, H2O, Coffin Cats, Black
Sounds
Flag,
like
all
our
kinds of
fucking our playlists.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we'll share that with this because we usually do a playlist with each episode, but since you already have one, we'll just send people that way.
Yeah,
man, look it up on Spotify or Apple. Failure Rules soundtrack playlist. Yeah.
Your social links will all be hyperlinked in the episode description and like on our Instagram, and then it'll be on the Record Store Instagram and my own and Jeremy's, etc.
I have one more question too that we ask everybody.
Awesome.
And
shit, good call. I almost forgot.
And since you have a soundtrack, what are a musician or a style of music that you listen to that somebody looking at you wouldn't expect you to listen to? Or a band that you don't want anybody to know that you listen to?
Well, then he's not going to tell you.
Well, he has to. Like you got a Kenny G fetish or something.
All right, dude. So this is like a dirty secret. Like,
yep.
I confess I'm a Jelly Roll fan. I like the Jelly Roll. I'm just going to say.
Damn. Really?
I kind of like.
That's awesome.
See, I'm
hey,
just gonna be honest.
You like what you like.
That would be my guilty pleasure. And then something that you wouldn't think I'd listen to is, I'm not like a huge jazz fan, but I love me some Charlie Parker.
Oh, fucking
especially when I'm or cigar at the end of the evening. So
yeah, we both listen to
that. Other than that, stuff that might be more predictable but not punk, like
we dip our toes in jazz as well.
Yeah, jazz we're big into. I mean, like pretty much everything except polka and like pop country and stuff like that. But
pop. Yeah.
There's too many conflicting sounds. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Although I will also say that I do appreciate not pop country, but like some of this more authentic shit coming out. Like,
oh yeah, dude,
Zach Bryan stuff is actually good.
Yeah, I've read and heard some of his stuff actually. But it's nice to see like somebody doing something that's not just bubblegum pop, even if it's not my thing. Like Jelly Roll's not my thing, but I've read some of his lyrics and stuff, and it's like real life shit. So
he's a funny motherfucker.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it's authenticity, right? And it's originality. And same with like Zach Bryan, which is more like, to me, I view it more as like Americana, but it's very authentic. There's no like fucking formulaic like bubblegum like country catchphrase shit. Like it's just authentic, poetic Americana type stuff. And so I can see why he's as popular as he is. And I think the music's pretty good.
Oh man, he's huge. Fucking literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Anyways, man, thank you again.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you, man, and meeting you. Thank you for the inspiration.
You too, guys. Have a great night, man. Yeah, keep it up, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate it, man.
Peace out.
See you guys.
See you
later.